tank of gas? Does he boots on the wood, let the whiskey pass? I ain't preaching from a pulpit, I'm talking from the sky. You can
welcome, outlaws, once again to the FAFO Podcast. Yeah, you're right. It's another one. Another banger is what this one is going to be. It's going to be great. Here we are with another interview, and one that I got to say, this is what makes people interesting to me. Their journey, where they go, how they get there. And if you're a business person and you're in a position of leadership, this is absolutely the interview for you. So I want you to settle down, because here's the deal. Leadership isn't about having the loudest voice in the room. All right, it's about bringing people together to accomplish something greater than themselves. Today's guest has spent his career leading in the military, government, and private industry while helping organizations navigate change, innovation, and uncertainty. He's a best-selling author, leadership strategist, and business advisor. Please welcome Joel Klemmer. Joel, welcome to the FAFO Podcast. Thanks for doing this today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, man, I'm so excited about this. Like I said, we met on Pod Matches where this was set up for us through, and I love that site because I get a good little bio, and you get kind of build out somebody's personality. And I was reading some of your stuff. I mean, you sound like you were an entrepreneur from the time you stepped out of the womb almost. It was it's so wild to hear that. Organizing kids to help you with drinks. Tell that story, please.
Well, I'll even go a little bit back. So I was talking to my mother, and she said when I was literally 2 years old, I was going around stealing other people's bottles just to see how they would react. So I guess I was a little bit of a hellion growing up. But yeah, I mean, I think all of us, when we're younger, we win a couple extra dollars, right? And so for me, I liked baseball cards, football cards, trying to get the ice cream man. And, my parents wasn't going to give me any dollars. So it was go work for it. And you try to mow some lawns and, whatever you could do with the neighbors. Well, somehow it ended up grabbing a couple boxes of soda and trying to get anybody in a car to buy it. I think we were in fourth grade, and started with there, and then got enough profit to go buy a cooler, which I still have today. So it's in storage somewhere, but I still have it, and it just kept growing. Then I got all the kids in there. We were all at every corner, basically hounding everybody that was driving by. And then we had some kids go to the park, find baseballs, golf balls. We clean them up, try to sell them to older kids. And we're talking early 90s, but, for a kid to make a couple $100 in the summer, it was pretty good. But it set the foundation, right? It taught, the value of money, really how hard it is for every dollar, but also the systems that have taken me really today.
And I find that so fascinating too, listening to that. I mean, you absolutely learned at a very early age that you got to work for it, and as creative as you can be, you developed a leadership style at a very early age is what it sounds like. When you're organizing kids, that's almost an impossible feat in and of itself to do. And here you are doing that. Did you find that really, and you kind of said it, set the foundation for the later on in your life. Has that been the pattern of your life, even through the military?
Yeah, I mean, I've it's always been leadership. That's always been my passion. And part of it was I was successful. I was always putting the leadership. And, I mean, even back, my first real job was Baskin-Robbins in high school. And 3 months later, they're saying, you want to be the associate manager? No, I'm going to be a lifeguard. Then they said, you want to be the head lifeguard? And it's always been this management, and trying to push for these leadership positions. And early on, it was private and it was working. And I made it all the way to senior level position. My mid-20s, I was in Manhattan. But the reality is I sacrificed everything. I sacrificed friends, relationships. I was selfish, and that's not the way to do it. And so the one thing I really appreciate about the government is they really teach you about sacrifice and selfless service, and really looking for that impact bigger than yourself. And so that is really the big shift. Is I still continue to make an impact and get into leadership positions, but it's a team effort, and it's all about the mission at hand. And so, yes, leadership, but different facets in different ways.
So how do you approach leadership if you take on somebody who's looking for that, you're coaching somebody, or you have clients that are in need of learning that skill? What is the first thing you do to start teaching them that knowledge and what they need to know to be an effective leader?
The biggest thing is telling people, look at what you have, what are you responsible for now? Right? Everyone's trying to look up, and I want to be a CEO, and I want to be a VP, and I want to be all these things. That's not bad, but learn whatever you have to learn at the position you're in. So if you're responsible to be a cashier, make sure that's the best cashier you can be. If you're responsible for picking something up, my grandfather said, hey, if you're going to be a garbage man, make sure it's with a college education, and also put the lid back on. Just take care of what you're responsible for, and then just try to improve yourself and try to make the bigger impact. But it's not about you. It's really about where are you going to be, where in the team will you be the most effective?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a perfect outlook especially when you're talking about leadership. I know as a manager, that was always my thing when I'm at any store I ever managed, was like, look, I'm going to teach you everything I know, because for me to be successful, you have to be successful. If I can't teach you to do what I do, then what are we even doing here? I'm just going to be another one of these people who just kind of show up, collect the check until I get fired. And you really don't succeed that way. Were you able to take that into, we briefly touched on the military a little bit, but in that military aspect, when you're serving, and thank you for your service, by the way, when you're doing that, how was that response amongst other soldiers and your other teammates and really your brothers in arms, especially when you're trying to lead them?
So I was in a unique position. I've literally walked backwards, I think, from my career. Where usually you're 18 years old, you go into the military. After the service, you'll go mostly into the federal government, you'll retire, then move on to the private sector. Well, I was in the private. Then I decided to serve as a civilian. And then I didn't feel it was fair that I was making decisions for soldiers and not truly understanding what they were going through and what that was all about. And so I actually, last year, you possibly could, I was in my mid-30s, and I decided to go in the U.S. Army Reserves. And so because I started so late, I couldn't do the officer. And so it was enlisted. So here I am, working for a living. At the same time, when I put a suit on Monday through Friday, I'm a senior leadership position. So it was a very unique place. They put me in probable places I shouldn't. But either way, when you are working for that mission, you could like them, you could hate them, you could say whatever you want, but at the end of the day, they're the person that's got your back.
And I think that's one of the brilliant things I love most about the military is it's such a different mindset too with people who serve versus everybody else in the world, really, because it's it's that service and that selfless service that you have to give. And I can only imagine being in a leadership position in the military has got to be difficult. But in the private sector, it's so wholly different, because you see a lot of people are just in it for me. That's it. And what can you do for me? And sometimes it's hard to keep people, as a leader or as a manager, sometimes it's hard to keep people invested in your dream or your vision for goals, and to believe in the leadership and to believe in what they do. We see the turnover is crazy. How do you handle turnover and not losing employees. What's your secret sauce there to maintain a great turnover rate?
For me, I want turnover. I'm going to be honest, but let me be very clear what that means. I don't want people to turn over because they want to find a new job. What I want people to do is I want to be able to develop them and let them be so successful they got no place to go but up.
Yeah.
And they are making an impact wherever they go. And so I want to just support people in their vision and their dreams. And when you got people working their tail off for you because you're supporting them, when they're gone, it's a celebration. And everyone else around you is working just as hard because they see it. They see the progress. They see the impact. They see the change. But for me, it's you got to solve the system before you solve the person. I think everybody wants to point the finger and say, oh, it's this person. It's this person. That's the reason. Mm-hmm. Well, why did you hire him in the first place if that was the case? Because I'm pretty sure you went through interviews and they worked their tail off to get that job. And so why are they like that? Is it toxic leadership? Is it you don't have the right tools? You don't have the right system? You're not being clear on what their responsibilities and accountability is? Fix the system first. Then fix yourself. And if you can do both those things and then they're still a bad employee, find one. Because trust me, there's a lot of people that want to work for people that are in a good system with a good boss.
Oh God, yeah, that's so well put, because that is so true. And it's a lot of times you'll see some of these companies who they don't care about the bad turnover, the wasted time turnover. They're just like, we'll get somebody else to throw in there, and that's all they ever look at that employee as. It's a number. We don't care. It's cheap labor. We can hire them back. Not a problem. Instead of investing the time to create a strong foundation within your company to make sure your company is solid. I've worked for many of those. Have you ever been a part of that and had to fight truly against that mindset within that company to really change that system?
I think I said I was in the federal government.
Well,
I mean, let's just be honest.
Sure.
The federal government has some of the brightest people in there. Mm-hmm. I mean it. There is some incredible people in the federal government. I don't care what the news says. But their system is broken.
Oh.
And the reality is they're not paying enough. They're not providing the right tools. Don't get me wrong. If anybody wants to come up against the United States, good luck. We're light years ahead in that way. Yeah. But when it comes to just working, efficiency, giving the right tools, it's not there. And so, you want to fight, but you're always reporting to somebody. And that person knows the problem, knows even the solution, but they're too afraid. They don't really have the conads because they're looking at, I want 20 years and a pension. And the last thing I want to do is piss off some boss that's going to say good luck and goodbye. Yeah. And maybe that's where I'm different, because I've said a couple things to some officials, and that's okay. And I got it. But the reality is for the mission, it's for the change. And sure as heck, it's made some difference. I mean, we're talking massive, massive improvements. And so it's possible. You just have to do it the right way.
And that's exactly true too. And I do understand why people, they've worked their butts off to get in those positions. They finally got it. And you're right. They see the battle when they get there, like, uh-oh, I can do one of two things. I can just play the game, get my 20 and my pension and go, or I can just not give a crap and do what my heart tells me to do and fight for everything that I believe is right and be better. And that's a tough thing to ask a human being to try to come to terms with, especially if you got a family. Yeah. And you've got to provide. I mean, that puts your back against the wall. When you're coaching and when you're talking to people about this, how do you approach that from these prospective leaders out there who want to grow up and make that change and try to fight for change?
Try it. Make it. And if you're not in the right place, trust me, if you're going into an interview and saying, I'm ambitious, I'm trying to better myself, I'm trying to make something happen, I want to make a positive difference in this world, I want to make sure the people that I'm next to on side to side and the people below me are taken care of, and I want to make you look good, and they're saying, no, we don't want that, pick up and go to some other freaking country. Honestly. We're in America. We drive innovation. We are the best. I don't care what anyone says.
No, I completely agree with that. We're like the best country that's probably ever been on the face of this earth. And we're only 250 years old, which is so wild to even put that in perspective. It's crazy. When you consider the Mongolian Empire, I mean, the Romans, I mean, come on. There have been a lot of these big countries that lasted for a long time, but America is just, it's such a fascinating thing. I told somebody the other day, I'm so fortunate to be born an American and to be here, to live in this country, be able to go and do whatever I want to do in this country. As long as I put forth the effort and say, let's go for it. This podcast only exists here because I have that opportunity to just say, screw it. I want to be a podcaster. Let's just do it. And that's not something that you just get everywhere else, which leads me to my next question, becoming an author, because I'm a writer myself. I just published my books, but what was that switch to go, you know what? I need to write about this. I need to talk about this in leadership. How did you get into it? Was strategic synergy? Was that your first one?
That was the first one.
That was the first. Tell me about that journey.
So I always wanted to write a book. That was my retirement plan. I figured I'd be sitting somewhere outside, enjoying the fresh air, enjoying myself in my retirement, and then writing a book. That was my, end of life scenario.
Yeah.
And I was at the VA at the time. The VA was going through a lot. They had a lot of backlog. Everybody was overtime. Things were, it was bad. And we put in came in an amazing team. We put in the right tools, and the overtime was eliminated. The backlog was eliminated. And so we were in charge of all medical supplies and services for all 2,000 medical facilities, so the 9 million veterans. And so once we had that, it's what do we do? What do we do with the time? And so we decided to reach out, drive prices. We were paying crazy prices for certain things. But what happened is after work, I actually had some energy. But I really didn't have much to do otherwise. Yeah. And I'm like, it's time. It's time to do it. I've been researching it my whole life. I've been living it my whole life. It's time. And so I wrote it, and it was just for me personally, and it was so encouraging to see just the community. I mean, it was number 1 new release, bestseller on a lot of categories, and I just appreciate everybody because that was never the intent. But since then, there's been a lot of opportunities and several other titles, and it's just now it's less about just a personal goal and more of just I want to build a legacy and a positive impact.
That's so fascinating. I love people's stories behind why they write. What brings you to whatever it is that you write, whether it's about the books you wrote, whether it's a biography, whether it's just fiction, the way that I do it. It's so fascinating, and people are fascinating in that way, and what drives you. Why do you think it is that, and I was thinking about this when I was reading your backstory and about you, why do you think it is that so many organizations fail to work together effectively?
I once heard a saying that says, more people, more problems.
Hey, there you go. Yeah.
And I'm going to be straight honest with you. We have a lot of people that know how to give good sound bites, but they're also good at excuses. And so, just go down your social media feed, and there's enough people telling you how to solve the issue. What is the problem? pointing the finger at everyone else. And I'm like, shut up, grab a shovel and start digging. Because, yes, you can see all the problems in the world. What are you doing about it? And so, great, everyone can point out the problems. But are you just complaining about it? Taking it to taking it to the neighbor, just saying this is why I hate my day and this is why I'm extra enjoying my weekend, or is it, you know what, this is what it needs, so I'm going to do the extra step to fix it. And I think it's the second part that people just miss.
I think so too, because you do hear all the complaining. Everybody's got every idea in the world of how everything can be fixed all in one fell swoop, but nobody really does anything other than say words. And that's it. They leave it at that. And then tomorrow they come back with a new idea of how I should fix everything. And it's the same thing day after day. And you find so many people repeat that. I've even gotten, even with this podcast, the name of the podcast alone has triggered so many people that why do you name it the FAFO Podcast? I'll tell you why. It's not because I can use the F word or anything like that. It's not got anything to do with it, actually. It's a mindset of we can all join in together. We can be all different. That's fine, because we're individuals. Hell, none of us the same. But why can't we come together and talk about whatever we want to talk about, share that? I don't have to agree with you. You don't have to agree with me. But at least there's a spot you can go do it and not be kicked to the curb, beat over the head or anything like that. And in here, you can just do what you want. I said, that's the whole mindset of an FAFO. It's not just me being able to use curse words and go out here or a threat of violence or anything like that. And I found more people that would come in, and once I explain it, they're like, oh, I see. So I can just come say whatever I want as long as you believe it. Just don't come say words to say words like you're talking about. Let your words have that action behind them. Let them have meaning. And here's you a place to come talk about it. And so I find that's why I like talking to people like you. It's refreshing to be able to hear that, just hear the truth. And sometimes whether we want to hear the truth or not. And I think that's where you learn the most, and not being afraid of failure. Was there a time in your life that you were faced with those failures and were afraid for a moment and had to change your mindset to go, you know what, this is scary, but I'm going to do it anyway?
I can think of countless things, but I think the biggest one is probably the most recent. So I was the U.S. Army Division Chief for the Army Testing Evaluation Command over at Fort Hood, Texas. And, the federal government gave the fork in the road. Well, back in October, my wife and I started a blockchain company, so crypto. And it blew up. It absolutely blew up. I mean, we're talking some massive amounts of money.
Wow.
And so here I am going, my total intent was to make it down to Washington so that when they start saying Doge, I could say, stop the sound bites, I'll show you how to do it. We're gonna bring some of this money back to the people and start seeing the roads actually change, start seeing the community start to change, because I'm sick of it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so that was my intent, my entire intent for the last, over a decade. And so here I was saying, hey, maybe I take it a different approach. And so I took the resignation and I started to focus on the company and looking to grow it. Got to be part of the talks with Commissioner Pierce at the SEC and some of the crypto policy. But there was it was through an Ethereum wallet, and it was hacked.
Oof.
And I lost everything overnight. And so now I've just given up my entire federal career that I have sacrificed and I have fought like hell to make a difference. And now I've lost everything.
Oh,
and I'm telling you, I was in a tough spot.
That is wild to me. And crypto is one of those things that it's still so new, even though it's been around actually quite a while now. It's blockchain is still something I'm trying to understand. One of my buddies he's a doctor, and he knows all about it, and he's trying to teach me some of these things. I consider myself intelligent until I run up against blockchain. Then I just feel like a complete moron when someone's explaining it to me. How do you feel that is going to go in the future? Because there's so much talk about blockchain right now. Is this something that you think the SEC can get a handle on?
We're dealing with the government.
That's my concern. Because you don't want things to keep happening like what happened to you.
So we had talked about security. We talked about innovation. We talked about securities, commodities. There was really good conversations with a lot of smart people, a lot smarter than me there. I mean, some data scientists and some leaders in the community. And so there's a lot of really good people in it, but you're dealing with companies that don't want it because they're making fees. I mean, they're making hand over fist every time it takes a little bit of time to clear things and to take time. I mean, so crypto, I guess you could go meme coin. You could think you're going to be rich and all that, and that's all you. But as far as the actual technology of it, to be able to go into a grocery store and swipe your card, and then it comes out of your account, and you don't have to see pending for 3 days, or when you get a return, you don't have to wait 10 days for it. It just clears it.
Yeah.
That's the good technology. And then there's no fees to it, so it's even lower, or very minimal, depending on what you use. But people don't want it. I mean, I'm sure when the horse and buggy and the Model T came out, I'm sure somebody was picketing like hell.
Oh, yeah.
But, people got to face that we either got to get with it or we're going to get behind. And the last thing we want to do is give up our domination, is what I like to call it, worldwide.
Well, it's such a crazy mindset that we have, especially, and I have never been to another country, so I can't speak from it, but I can speak for everything we've seen here. Like, remember when checks were everything, and then we go to debit cards, and what is this crazy satanic monster we're up against now with debit cards? I can't do that. You even still have some people trying to hang on to checks, and they're almost, extinct at this point. And it is the same thing. We're trying to move to blockchain and some of this other stuff. People are going to fight that. Some people are just going to fight it tooth and nail because they just think it's the devil's work. And I can't be a part of that. No, sir. The whole thing with the chip in the head, oh, no, it's the sign of the Antichrist. Let's don't do it. Just anything. There's a certain segment of our population who will always fight against progress, it seems like. And then you've got the other segment, which is always going to find any way they can to take advantage of progress. And so do you feel that kind of stifles the growth of the country and the progress of the country to an extent? I mean, because there's certain avenues we can still grow in, but there's others where we won't even get into the pharmaceutical companies and that whole shit show. But there is a lot of stuff like that, dude. Do you feel like our progress is stunted in certain ways?
Boy, that's a loaded question. And it depends, right? I mean, it truly depends. Why do we have pharmaceuticals almost straight out of China? Why are we manufacturing there? They're U.S. companies. But then again, I really like when the stock goes up and I get my dividend. So, it's one of those things where which is it and which is correct? And I don't have an answer to it. But what I do know is we have to at least make some risk, and we got to move forward. And we got to make progress. I mean, whatever that may be. It could be technology. It could be, I don't know, just a mindset change. But yeah. I mean, we're broken in every area. You look at the schools, you look at the roads, you look at all the crap in the government and all the waste. Why are we paying for $25,000 curtains when, you know, we have people in need?
Yeah, I mean, it's really the bureaucracy of this country that drives me the most insane, I think, above anything else. And people can feel however they want to feel about immigration. That's on them. But I've always felt the bureaucracy is trying to get through the system in the country is broken. We know that because I had a personal friend who actually went through it. I was like, well, dude, that sucks. I mean, but you got to understand, it's not just there in the immigration system. It's in the pharmaceuticals. It's in communications in the FCC. I mean, who has the most money behind the scenes to get the programs they want to say, we would really rather like it if that took a little bit longer to get to air or get to market? Why do we have to go to the Philippines to get certain drugs created and made and tested? And we can't do that here in America. We're supposed to be the leader in everything. And you have to get stem cells. You got to go out of country, you know, take a puddle jumper and some single little rowboat to get to the place that you got to get this procedure done. It is bananas to me that that's even a thing. How do you fight against that?
I have been bipartisan my whole life. And so I look at both sides of the fence and I say, I see some things that are important. Yeah. I look at both sides of the fence and I say, you guys are bat crap crazy. And the reality is we got to stop the noise and just go back to the people. I mean, honestly, like I'm not saying that people can't have certain rights or certain things. That is not it at all. I want everybody to prosper.
Exactly.
But I want to know how it's impacting the people at home. I want to know how we're driving innovation, jobs. How are we taking the money that everyone's sacrificing and they see their paycheck and going, what happened? And how is it translating? And so, you know, firsthand in the government, I had unlimited warrants in the VA and I saw it in the Department of Defense, and I've seen it. And I've seen the waste. I've seen the horrible, horrible waste. At the same time, I know it could be solved. I know what the issues are, right? I drove a 60% efficiency. Why couldn't we do that everywhere? And there's a lot of reasons and there's a lot of things to address. But the reality is we need to give the focus back on the people and the impact and the mission. And I appreciate that. I think as a country, I think we're doing that. I honestly, just watching everybody, you know, over this summer, I haven't seen this much pride in the country in a long time. And it is amazing to see. And just being in this small community, this rural, poverty-stricken community, and seeing people come together and try and fight to really start beautifying and trying to get money back into the community, I think it's happening, but we got to stop the sound bites. And anyone that wants to point the finger, we just need to tell them to shut up and grab a shovel.
I agree. I'm right there with you on this. I mean, it is one of those things. It's such a beautiful country. I've never been more proud of this country in a long time from a patriotic standpoint of, you know, when they came over here for FAFO and you start looking at our country through a foreigner's eyes and they're like, how do y'all not just celebrate and love this country every single moment of your life? It's amazing over here, the stuff we have that we get to do. I mean, it truly is incredible. And you do hear all the time the sound bites like you're talking about. It's the worst place in the world. This country is this and it's that and it's evil and it's vile and I can't live here anymore, but I will never leave because there's no place better. However, listen to what I'm telling you. It's still awful. And yet, I guess that's the part that really brings me down the most. And yet gives me also the most hope because I've seen a lot of people over the summer so far start changing their tune a little bit, start waking up more and more and getting out of those echo chambers, especially when they see somebody else talking about it going, well, I guess our country really ain't that bad. Oh, crap. Where have I been this whole time? So have you seen that mindset shift a little bit? Because I know you just touched on it, But it is wild in these communities to see people coming together finally.
No, I agree. And I think for so long we're you're watching the screens, you're watching that TV, and you're yelling at it. They can't hear you on the other side. And not to say you got to be out there picketing or whatever. I think that in itself, hey, you exercise your right and your freedoms. That is why we have this country. 100%. Yep. You won't see me there, but hey, it's you exercise your rights. That's your freedom, and we're protecting you. But hey, get out and make a difference. Try something. And I think they're trying. I mean, people really want to be homeowners. People really want to have businesses. They want to be successful. Mm-hmm. But we have some amazing individuals, and I'm very excited for the next generation. I just hope we can build a framework that can support it.
I hope so too. And that's why I was really rooting for blockchain, even though I don't really understand. I don't understand the mechanism of how it works in a very safe way. I understand the process and what it is. And that to me is my next hope, is that we can get that, because if we can get a system where I just have my card hacked again for the upteenth time, and that's even trying to stay safe on the internet as best you can and not just give your information out or keep it stored. And still, it is a problem. And then there's other countries that harbor a lot of these people who do this stuff. We know this. It's not even, and it's so sad, because if I'm on the help desk and I need help and I hear a certain dialect, I'm like, oh Lord, is this for real? Or are they a scammer? And I hate that my thought process goes there. It's like tragic that's immediately what you think, oh, I'm about to be scammed. And yet here we are. How do we battle that kind of thing? I mean, that is something that's hard to control over here versus when it's taking place elsewhere. Is there something we can do going forward? Have y'all had those conversations?
I mean, I think we have technologies, we have capabilities to be secure. Are we going to go against, somebody that says, no, you can't have my bio scam because, it's the end of the world.
That's it.
And hey, again, you're right to think whatever you want.
Yep.
And I appreciate that, and think whatever you want. But, there's got to be a place where it's, okay, what about it? Does it relate to something you read? And let's change it enough where we can move forward with our lives into an area that is efficient, that's effective. I mean, we have technology now. You go on your phone, and 30 minutes later, someone's ringing your doorbell, and it's like, holy cow. It's
on Earth. I'm not gonna lie. It's great.
So,
yeah.
It's there.
We can get there. We can talk. Stop yelling so much at everybody yelling at each other, because you create, and we see that in this country right now. All the yelling does, and all the peacocking, as I call it out here, everybody just wants to show what they think they know instead of talking and getting the issue solved. And it's really creating another branch of divisiveness, because now you're creating an issue that didn't really exist, certainly not in this expansiveness, but you're creating one. Have we lost the ability just to talk? Because it seems like it. Because we are so used to in your face, listen to me, and not having the conversation.
Yeah, and what's to say we're looking at one big elephant, and what's to say you're looking at the ass of it, I'm looking at the trunk of it, but it's still the elephant.
It is,
right?
You're not wrong.
We're just looking at a different perspective, and that's the joy of it. And if everyone has their perspective and their opinions, now don't shove it down your throat saying, this is my way or the highway.
Exactly.
I got family members, trust me, I know how that is.
Amen.
But the thing is, hey, I appreciate what you're bringing to the table, but now let's discuss everybody else's and see what the problem is and solve the problem.
Yeah, 100%, dude. Joel, 100%, buddy. I am right there with you. I have taken so many notes, and I noticed I've already kept 40 minutes of your time, and I apologize for that. But real quick, before I have to let you out of here, what's in store for Joel? What are you doing? What's up next on the horizon for you? After all this stuff we just talked about, what you just went through, what's next for you?
So I've ended up just a few months ago to Gallup, New Mexico. And this is a place I probably, and I tell the community this, I have learned to love the people here. I absolutely love the people. But the reality is I probably wouldn't even stop for gas if I,
Yeah.
But I was given an opportunity to be in the school district here, 5,000 square miles and 97% poverty rate.
Oh my God.
You think about third world countries, all you have to do is go a couple states over. And the reality is some of the students are building porta potties for the community. They don't have plumbing. They don't have water. They have to bring water trucks to get water. My conversation in a design for a school was, can we put a few more washers and dryers so the kids can come before school and wash their clothes? This is the United States of America. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to fight like hell. And I am fighting against some people because there's been a lot of what I would say not necessarily integrity and above water and not necessarily the best ethics, but I'm fighting like heck to try to bring in systems and best of class. And I appreciate a lot of the people who have open arms, supplied their time, their knowledge, and the resources to help the cause. And we've done some amazing work. But my plan is to get a system in place where these kids have a fighting chance and their parents have economic growth. And I want to inject as much money as I can into this community. Once I can get a system, I would absolutely love an opportunity to make that difference. Maybe more so on a global scale, on a more enterprise scale. But the reality is you want to make God laugh, create a plan. And I'm sick of making plans. I'm just sitting down and enjoying the roller coaster.
I do. That is crazy. I don't blame you at all there. I mean, that is so wild to even think that. And it's one of the things that does aggravate me about all this money we give outside of this country, with men and women starving in the streets, places like where you're talking about living, where you have that kind of poverty level in this country. What are we doing? I mean, we created this country over a 1% tax. It wasn't necessarily that, but that was the impetus for it. And here we are paying half of our income to a government that ships our money overseas. And this is not something new. It's been going on for 50 plus years now. I guess something that pisses me off about this country, it's that we have people starving here who shouldn't be. Talk about the land of milk and honey. And yet you have that right there. And that's a damn tragedy. How can people help you? How can people reach out and give you some help and help you there and help the people there?
As far as the school district, Gallup McKinley County Schools, there's a contact procurement page where literally it says book an appointment, and you could book an appointment with me and reach out. I've been more active on LinkedIn. That's actually me. So, if people are contacting, that you're going to get me, maybe not the same day, sometimes the same day. But, the reality is I'm not doing it alone. We have a mayor here who's working like hell to try to do things.
That's good.
A lot of community and a lot of people trying to roll up their sleeves and do what they can. But if there are business owners and they're looking for capital investments, My thing is, if you're looking for something cheaper, don't look overseas, look here. And if they say, well, cost, what's the cost if we happen to be in a geoeconomical problem? But I know for sure if you put in the U.S., that this place is protected. Nobody's going to step foot in this country without help. That's for shit. That's for
that's so true, dude. Buddy, lit a fire and it just makes me. I just feel so bad for these people who have to do that, but I am happy to know that there are people like you out here who are actually fighting for them, because people need that. They have to have that voice that most of these people who are in that situation don't have. They just don't have it. And so here you are doing that. And Joel, I appreciate your time today. I will put your links into the descriptions of all this so people can contact you. And if there's one that's missing that I need to know about, if you will just message that to me, I will get that in the link so they can send all the help that we can try to funnel your way. I don't know what I can do here, but I know I can try. And that's all I'm going to ask my audience to do is just try and reach out. Help where you can help, guys. I mean, that's the only way I know to do it. But Joel, I appreciate your time today, brother. Thank you so much for spending this 45 minutes on a Saturday afternoon talking about this. And hopefully I can have you back, and we'll get some updates and see if we can at least reach out and try to get you some help, brother.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, and we'll talk at you soon.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing pulls at my heartstrings more than knowing that we have these issues here in America where we shouldn't have them. You know that. I know that. Everybody seems to know that. And yet, what the hell do we do about it? It seems like nothing. It seems like we just decided to look the other way instead of going out here and doing what needs to be done. If you can go and give your money willingly to whatever freakish thing that goes on overseas, and you're comfortable with that, but you can walk by a starving human being or a child that has no place to live or even use a bathroom, what does that say about you? You can reach out. You can spend a few dollars here and there and help another human being out. What Joel's doing here, to me, is what we should all be trying to do. It's a standard you should be trying to live up to. And I hope you can do that. I will link his stuff in the subject below. In that description, get down there. Send what you can. You don't have to sign your life away. But if everybody gave just a little, my God, the wonders you could do. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast today. And my great guest, Joel Klemmer. Get his book. And by God, give some help and give up yourself. I think it's the best thing we do as human beings and damn sure as Americans. You are listening to the FAFO Podcast. Facts, truth, no BS. Let's effing go. I'll see y'all next time.
Four on the floor, have a tank of gas. Does he boots on the wood, let the whiskey pass? I ain't preaching from a pulpit, I'm talking from the scar. You can dress up a lie, but it won't get far. They call it toxic.